Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is exactly 2 a.m. on this beautiful Saturday night. It's 53 degrees outside. Get all my lip stuff ready. It's the lip thing. I just woke up like a half an hour ago. And I kept on smelling like fireplace in our house. And I was talking to Alex about it. First, we need to change the filter in our furnace, but it wasn't that. My hat's over there, but I'm not gonna wear my hat tonight, so we can all just deal with the Darlene. If you have never met Darlene Jolene Joe, here she is. This is Darlene Jolene Joe, and she's 50, and she likes to kick. But our furnace filter was like black, and so I was like, I think we have another one down in the basement. He thought so too, and I was like, well, I gotta go vlog, so can you check that out? Because he was still watching Lucifer when I left, with the dogs all curled around him. Our new bedding is gonna be quite the problem because it is so comfortable, so unbelievably comfortable. That I'm just never gonna want to get out of bed ever. If you have thought about, and this is not sponsored in any way whatsoever, if you have seen the ads for the Buffy comforter or the Buffy cloud comforter and the pillows, and you've thought about getting them, they're a little pricey. They're actually not too pricey when it comes to like a down comforter and down pillows, but I would highly, highly recommend it. I'm super happy with the purchase. The pillows are probably some of the most comfortable pillows I've ever had in my entire life. Yeah, I'm using one of my new holiday mugs today. Look at that. It's a venti iced blonde Americano with an extra shot and one Splenda. So, there you go. I also have a passion fruit LaCroix with me. But anyway, the bedding was so nice last night, and it was, the dogs love it. They're so cute. They were like rolling around in the faux fur little blanket that we got. And we have a couple faux fur blankets downstairs that people, Alex actually had one around him tonight over the chair, that people have, somebody sent us two, I think, from like West Elm, which was really nice. And then we had another one, and then my dad, a couple years ago, bought us, because they have one on their bed and they love it, a huge, it's like the size of ours that we have on the bed now, this like king size quilt that we got. It's like a quilt on one side, it looks like a quilt. On the other side it's faux fur, but the one that my dad got us from Restoration Hardware is a brown faux fur, and it's super heavy though, and it's machine washable, but like you have to hang dry it. And I can remember when we washed it, it took like 2 days to dry, which, by the way, I just remembered that our comforter is in the dryer and I've got to put it through another cycle to dry it. So yeah, the bedding is fantastic. Someone said in the comment section yesterday that they didn't like the Casa Luna duvet cover, but I have to say, like, I really like it. I think it's really nice. I don't know, maybe in a couple days I won't like it as much, but I'm really happy with all of our purchases for all of that. Isn't this so pretty? It's so pretty. So I'm just out driving around. Last night after I finished my vlog, I listened to the Sinatra Club by Sal Polisi, and I finished it last night. Well, I only had like an hour and 20 minutes left to finish it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, which kind of surprises me. I have to say, I don't really feel like it's, like, it fits a true crime book club book because it's about the mob and the mafia and stuff like that, but like as far as like books that we've read before that are about specific cases or, you know, murderers and things like that, it's very different than that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the live stream goes tomorrow. I was very taken with the book. It almost kind of read like a fictional book, honestly. This man's life was just unbelievable. When you find out a lot about like the mob and the mafia, and you've like heard these stories, you know, through the years, and then you see like how they work and all this kind of stuff, it's just unbelievable to me. It's just absolutely unbelievable to me. And there was a part of the book where he had like, so he was married and he had this wife, Angela, and kids, but he had two sons and 2 boys, and he fell in love with this woman that, I know this is gonna sound so sketchy, but he fell in love with this woman that was like a dominatrix, and she was a madam that like owned these like whorehouses in town and stuff. That's what they referred to it in the book. And for some reason it was like that part of the book really got me, because it was like this love that couldn't be. Like at one point, like he's talking about falling in love with her because he was like sex obsessed, but like at one point, like they have this moment where like they fall in love. Like they're supposed to go see Greece, but it gets canceled because of the hurricanes coming through. And so they're like sitting in this hotel room or apartment, I can't remember which, in New York City, and they're just like sharing their lives with each other. And they like, and she tells him that night that she's in love with him, and he tells her that he's in love with her too. And they make a deal that they're gonna both get out of like the life. Like she's gonna stop, like she's gonna close down both of her business. She has like two apartments that are like practicing, like businesses, I guess is what you would refer to them as, whorehouses. I don't know what, you know. And then he said that he's gonna get out of like the mafia, and then they were gonna move upstate, and like he was gonna tell his wife, and he had like this dream, this idea that like his wife somehow was gonna fit. Her name was Jane in the book. That was like her name. Jane Parker, JP. He was gonna fit her, like his wife was gonna fit her into their like family scenario somehow. And like he imagined them like living next door to each other, and then like his kids and like his kids with Jane like playing together. And it was just kind of out there and bizarre. Anyway, I mean, the book club's tomorrow, so it's not like people are gonna go probably read it now, but so he loses track of her at one point. This whole fiasco happens with his like, they're returning his car, or like she's taking him home, and they pull up and his wife is next to him, and then his wife like runs into the back of the car. It's like this huge deal, right? And then he goes home and he says he's never gonna see this Jane again. And then Jane like drives into the front of their house, and then like comes inside, and like she and the wife like get into this fight. And then he says that he never wants to see her again. Well, then they kind of like hook up back again later, down the road, right before he's getting ready to go to prison. And at that point, he doesn't really care. They even say something in the book. I listened to this book so fast. I don't know how I retained it, but like I literally retained everything in this book. He even says something like, if everything was lost now, he doesn't even, like if it became a mess again, he doesn't even really care. Because he had like tried to like get things back together with his wife and work things out, and things were better for a while. The fact that like she fought for him and the family was like attractive to him. So then he goes to prison, and when he gets out, he's like she says that she's gonna like keep up with him, like and come and visit him. And she comes, like, I know at least one time she comes because he talks about it. But then like his stuff that he sends her starts getting sent back, and he doesn't know what happened to her. And he finds out through somebody that she moved upstate. He's like ready to go up there and like get her and fall in love with her again. And she's like married and has a kid. And it just was kind of sad. It was like this man, like, I mean, and the thing is like, I love when you read books, like, my old publisher used to always say this: show, don't tell. And like, this book is such a fantastic example of like selling out like everything that's important to you for like money and power and greed. It's such a good example of that. And at the end of the book, he like does one last thing. He like has this, I think he has cocaine or heroin, and he has it like, I think in the ground somewhere, and he like digs it up and sells it to some dealer, and he makes like 20 grand off of it, and he's like gonna go to California, and he's like been in witness protection because he was like turned state's evidence and was like the rat against John Gotti, and he is gonna go to California and start his life over. And this is the very end of the book, and he's like driving out there, and he's like passing all these like really like poor people and poor kids like on the road, and he's thinking about like Jane and like his relationship with his kids, and that like he says it throughout the book a couple different times, like he was never the dad that he could have been because he was so consumed with being in the life, like in the life being in the mafia. And so I didn't really understand how it happened, but he puts these dollar bills like in a bucket or something that's $20,000, or I think he put like $5,000 at first or something. I didn't understand if he put all of it or some of it in there, but he starts taking it and just like throwing it out of the back of this, like as he's moving, and it's just like swirling around, and they're like, he's just like leaves his past in his past, basically, and the money and everything. He's kind of like disgusted by it. He ends up getting remarried. I think he got remarried in 91, and he had 2 more kids, and his sons were like really welcoming to them, and it's kind of nerve-wracking to read. Like, it's just a lot. I didn't really know that much, honestly, about John Gotti. John Gotti is a huge part of the book, and my old roommate, the one that lives in Berlin now, she was kind of weirdly, like, the way that Mel is obsessed with the mob, she was too. And I remember we used to watch, it must have been around that time. It was funny because Tanya and I were talking about something to do with Tanya Tucker, and I was like, oh my god, I used to love that reality show. Did you guys ever watch Tucker? I think it's called Tuckerville. Tanya's been talking about this show called Plathville. Welcome to Plathville. She's now on its 2nd season. But anyway, so I used to love that show. I think it was called Tuckerville, and it was Tanya Tucker and her kids, and they lived in this huge house and like outside of Nashville. We were talking about that, but what was making me... Oh, so I was thinking, because it must have been around that time that I watched Growing Up Gotti, because I can remember I feel like my roommate and she and I used to watch that show together, which we lived together. So I got sober in 94. We moved in together like January of 96 with my boyfriend at the time, and we would have lived together. I graduated with my master's degree in like, I don't even know what year, 98 or 99, I think 98, spring of 98. So we lived together through like 99. We lived together for like 3 years. Would that have been true? 99. And then he and I got an apartment. Yeah, that would have been, yeah. I can actually see myself. I had to write like this 25-page dissertation, and I can see myself in that apartment with like everything. It was like, that apartment was spotless. We always kept it so clean. And I can see like myself. I had this little desk in the corner by like the bar for the kitchen, and I had like my computer and like my printer and everything there. And I can see myself just like with everything laid out on the floor. This huge paper that I was writing, this like 25-page paper. I can remember I would do like homework and stuff, and she would sit there and she would watch hockey. She was obsessed with watching hockey. But anyway, we used to watch Growing Up Gotti with Victoria Gotti and her sons. I think she has 2 sons. I was like looking at pictures of all of these people because that were in this book. There were so many people like named in this book. It was like unreal. Like the first 10 minutes, I texted Mel and I was like, the names, oh my God, there are so many names in this book. It's kind of sad. I mean, a lot of these true crime books are sad. I was talking to my Aunt Susie today on the phone. And I said to her, I was like, I said, Susie, I said, we like just read about the Chris Watts case. And she's like, oh, I know, it's crazy. I said, what is going on in Colorado out there with all the killers, John Benet Ramsey and all this stuff, that horrible stuff that's happened in Colorado. Like literally, she lives in Sentinel, Colorado. It's literally like half an hour from where she lives, everything that happened. But anyway, so I finished that book last night, and then I immediately started the 5th book in the Jana DeLeon series. It's not Jana DeLeon though, because when I was listening to the audio thing, he pronounced her name differently. He pronounced it DeLeon or something. I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's Jana DeLeon or something, I think. I'm pronouncing it wrong. But anyway, I just got past the first hour of it. It's only like 7 or 8 hours, 7.5 hours, I think. I think it's 7 hours and 35 minutes. I always know exactly how long the books are because I like sit here and I look at it all the time. But, it's called Gator Bait. And it's the next one. And it starts off, she's just had a date with the sheriff. And then, like, he has put out, like, it's later in the day, and, like, this whole thing happens. If you're reading it, I don't want to ruin it for anybody because they're so good. But something to do with the election, and then something to do with church. It's, like, real funny. Okay, so there's these 2 different churches, right? There's, like, the Catholic women, and then there's the Baptist women. And this is not ruining it for you, but they, like, run to the church, like, as soon as the last amen comes out of the minister's mouth or the priest's mouth, they're allowed to like take off and leave the church. So the main character, they tell her she's like the best runner. She has to put on running shoes to run for the local diner, which is called Francine's. I don't think it's called Francine's actually, but Francine is like the one that owns it. And she makes this banana pudding that's like supposedly like the best banana pudding anybody ever has had. But she only has enough refrigerator space to keep so many banana puddings. So whatever women's league, it's like the Sinful Women's Society. And then there's like the God Warriors, which are like the Catholic women. Whichever women get there first. Well, actually, I don't think it matters which church. Does it matter which church they're in? Anyway, whichever women get there first are the ones that get the large table, and then they get the banana pudding. And it's hilarious. Because this is like, there's like mainstays that happens in like every book, you know? So I started listening to that last night, but then I got really, really tired. And today we had to go to Carlitos' birthday. And I wanted to get up and make videos and stuff like that today, but when I got up, I just was like, I just was not feeling making any kind of videos today. I really like struggled, like my neck actually, like I slept so well, and I slept long too. But my neck, like, hurt a little bit last night. And Alex said that when he left, because he had to go to work this morning, he had some, like, meetings and stuff, I was sleeping on my stomach with my neck turned, and I think that's what I did. I was, like, off the pillow. Sometimes I, like, lay, like, straight flat down on the mattress, like, with my head turned to the side. I even just heard it crack when I did that. So my neck hurt a little bit this morning, and I didn't even really, like, get out of bed until, like 12:30, and then I had to leave the house at like between 2 and 2:30, and I had to take a shower and stuff. I was like, I am not gonna rush around today, because like when I like to make videos, I like to like not be rushed doing it. Like I like to enjoy it, and I wanted to do like a holiday drink at Starbucks to review it. And the thing is that I don't know that I'm gonna be able to make videos tomorrow either, because I have the book club, and Alex and I also want to look for nightstands. So I don't know that tomorrow I'm gonna be able to make videos, which is, you know what, like, I've been taking 2 days off not making videos in a long time, so it's not gonna like, it's gonna kill me, right? But there's videos I want to make, so, yeah, so anyway. It doesn't seem like it's 2 o'clock outside. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's 2 o'clock. It seems like, I keep on smelling like bonfires or fireplaces or something. Tanya said she's had a fire like every day this fall. I said every day. She's like, I've had a fire every day. She always does that. Tanya buys like a ton of those like fire starter logs. Oh, man. So we went to Carlitos's birthday thing. I listened to my audiobook the whole way there. There was like, they did it at a bowling alley. There was like nobody there. There was like, well, they were doing like every fourth lane. And it was like, I mean, I don't know how many bowling alleys, how many lanes there were, 20 or 30 or something like that. And there were like 3 groups of people in the entire place. And they weren't big. Like even his little birthday party was real small. And the kids were so well behaved. And they all wore masks. And like, you know, it was like pretty social distance the whole time. I was impressed. And their parents were there. And it was just real small. Carlitos is such a polite kid. He's just so nice. He wanted these Nintendo gift cards. So we ended up each getting him like a $20 gift. Well, he didn't. I mean, it was just in the same card. And so we got $40. And he was like going crazy. And then he got some Nerf. So he's real into football playing. So apparently, like, I don't know. Like, he was playing baseball. And it's so funny because I always thought Carlos, because Carlos is like a huge like baseball player, softball player, and has played on like farm teams in Venezuela, and now he plays on like a league here, and he like travels for this league like all over and stuff. I always thought like Carlos is such a big sports person that I thought like he would be like, I've had so many friends of mine that have been like really, really pushy about their kids playing sports. And so when Carlitos started getting involved in a lot of sports, I mean, he plays basketball, he plays baseball, he plays football, he's done everything except for soccer, which, oh, no, he did soccer. And he also did, like, mixed martial arts and stuff. And, like, and I would say something, you know, and Carlos would be like, he wants to do it, you know, like, it's him, blah, 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 whatever. One of his friends at school wants to do it. But the baseball thing I knew was Carlos because, and Carlitos was really good at baseball. So, the last time I saw him, I said something about, like, are you going to be upset if, like, I said, how's he doing in football? And he goes, he's really good, which I was telling Tanya tonight. Tanya goes, how old is he? I said, he's 8. But he said he's really good. And I said, and he was like, you know, dude, he's just naturally athletic at everything. And I said, do you care if he does baseball or what? He goes, no. And he's like, I don't care he's like, I don't care if he doesn't do any sports, you know? And because Sebastian is like, so Sebastian's going to be 5 in January. And he doesn't play any sports. And when Carlitos was 5, Carlitos was playing like, I think he was playing soccer and baseball then or something. I don't know. He just started football this last year and he really likes it. And In fact, like, I think, like, all the little friends that he had today, it was only, like, 6 kids, and it was, like, 3 from his football team and 3 from the neighborhood. And, I was kind of surprised they had it at a bowling alley, but whatever. I just sat at a table with Alex the whole time. And his mom. We just sat there and watched all of it. But, they were just, all of them, really well behaved. So, but I said to Carlos, I said, well, what about Sebastian? And he goes, oh, he said something about, like, he's not going to play sport. I don't think he wants to play sports. He said, we get him in stuff, but he just doesn't seem very interested. He's going to be, like, the artsy one, you know, like, do you ever, like, when you have, like, little kids in the family, you, like, are like, they're gonna do this or whatever? Like, he is so, like, into art, and he just loves to draw. Carlitos does too, but, like, Sebastian really, really does. And, they're very good kids. They're just, you know, and they're so respectful, of just, like, their mom and their dad. Carlos and Liliana, like, I was just so impressed with how they put this birthday party together, and they were, like, running around, and I was just really impressed. I told them, I said, you guys did such a nice job with this birthday party. The cake was, like, this really cool cake. It was the same cake, or same kind of, the same person that made it was the person that made, Alex's grandma's 90th birthday. It was like this silver cake. And it was really cool. It was like this football field, but it had, like, little macaroons that were in the shape of footballs. It was really cool. And so Liliana was like, we were trying these maroons, and she's like, it's good. And I was like, And she goes, And I go, She's so funny. It's so cool that I get to have a sister, you know, like, I always wanted to have a sister, and it's cool that I have a sister in Liliana, you know, she's just, so anyway, so that was that, and then, I thought we were going to go back to their house to, like, open presents and stuff like that, but they did it there, and so, Carlos and Liliana were having a couple friends over, and, like, this couple that they're friends with, and their son is, like, Carlitos' best friend. It was just, like, the 3 of them were coming over. And Alex's mom was like, she was tired. She was like, I'm gonna go take a nap, because she was gonna go see a friend later. And so I said to Alex, I said, what are you gonna do? And he was like, well, I was gonna go over there. And I was like, okay. I said, do you care if I was gonna go home and feed the dogs, or I was gonna go see Tanya? And he was like, go ahead, do whatever. He was like, yeah. So he called me like a half an hour, well, maybe like an hour later, and he was on his way home. So he said, yeah, they were just sitting around. So he was like, I decided to come home. He was tired. He got up early this morning. So I went and got Tanya, and my foot is killing me. So I went and got Tanya, and we drove around. The battery died, and I didn't even realize that I was, like, driving, and I was, like, talking about what Tanya and I were talking about. But that's okay, because I wanted to read something to you guys anyway that Tanya had posted on her Facebook. This quote from Camus that I really like. And Tanya and I were talking tonight about just the I don't know, just the ability to truly hate, or like live from a point of anger and hatred. And I feel like I've seen so much of that in the last week. And I can't, like, I don't live from a point of anger. I used to live from a point of anger and a point of rage. You know, and there's a belief, a promise in sobriety that you will cease fighting anyone and anything. And so Tanya and I were talking about that like I don't know. And so she posted this thing then later, that, hold on a second. He said, in the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. I realized, through it all, that in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger. And, I think, I don't know, I just, you know, I saw my mom her entire life, like, fight, you know? And, like, everything, just, like, even people, just, like, in her life, you know? Like, I do this great job of painting this picture of my mother as being this very calm and peaceful and strong person, and she was at times, right? But there were a lot of times that she wasn't. She could be very difficult. And not difficult in a good way. You know, I think that people that joust windmills and people that challenge authority and are, you know, I think that's all great. I do. I really believe that. But I think, like my mom was willing to just battle anyone, you know? And I see people in my life that, like in my personal life, that are kind of like that. And they don't seem genuinely happy to me, you know? They don't seem like they have a calm about them or a peace within them. And I can remember back in the day when I came out. So when I was in high school, I had a girlfriend. I know it's probably very surprising to you guys, but my senior year I had a girlfriend. Through, like, after I graduated. She came out, I came out on my 18th birthday. She was a year behind me. She came out the following year when she went to college. And we remained friends for several years. We just kind of, I mean, it wasn't that we stopped being friends, we just kind of fell out of being friends. And I remember she invited me to some rally or protest or something. I can't even remember what it was, honestly, but it was like, I mean, this is like 30 years ago, right? It's funny when I tell these stories sometimes because it's, I don't think I've ever actually shared this story on here. It's funny when I tell these stories sometimes because it's like, even I forget, like some of these stories I tell about my mom and stuff, I mean, they were like literally 40 years ago, you know? It's a crazy amount of time. But I remember she, like, called me up, and she was like, she had, like, a partner. I think they've been together, like, ever since. I think they've been together for, like, 30 years. I don't know if they're still together now or not, but anyway, they were for a really long time. And she's kind of gone social media, like, silent. I don't know where she's at anymore. But, and I haven't actually looked in a really long time, but she and, like, the, people she lived with, it was, like, a group of, like, 5 people. They were very radical, and there was something that was going on. It was some grocery store. I don't remember what it was. want to say it was Kroger, but I could be wrong. Some grocery store had like refused to hire somebody that was like gay or something, or like, I don't know, it was some issue. It was like a small town around where she was, and they were gonna like throw bricks. There was like this rally of like a ton of people. It was like 100 people, and they were gonna throw bricks through this business's window with like queer written all over it, or like queer painted on these bricks. And she was like, you know, and I was, like I said, I was talking about this the other night, I was like very, very involved when I was in my early 20s. Even when I was using, I was very involved in, you know, candlelight vigils, and like I was really involved in the climate and the environment. And was very involved in like Earth Day stuff and just all kinds of stuff, you know. And was I talking about that on here, or was I talking about that on my Peter Isms channel? I think I was talking about it on my Peter Isms channel, where when I got sober, I kind of had this come to Jesus moment where I was like, if you don't know what that means like an awakening. I had this kind of moment of clarity where I was like, you know what, like, you would be making more change in the world that you believe in if you focused on one area instead of doing a little bit over 5 or 10 areas, 5 or 6 areas, you know what I mean? So at that point was when I decided that I really, like, a cause that I really believed in was addiction and recovery, and so that was what I was going to dedicate my time and energy to. But that didn't mean that I wouldn't still educate myself on things, you know, that I believed in and things that were important to me, and I continued to do that, and, you know, donated money and time, and I've always been very, very, you know, involved to some degree. Although the last 2 years I've really wanted to pick up doing some like charitable work on a level that I mean, like, I've wanted to pick like one thing and really like do a little bit more with it. But when it comes to, you know, like addiction and recovery, I do a lot of stuff. And so it's something I really believe in. And I believe in, you know, the affordable cost of treatment for addiction and mental health treatment, because it's not in our country affordable, and a lot of people don't have access to it, and if they do have access to it, it's not the treatment that they need. So I'm a big advocate for affordable mental health and substance abuse treatment. That is probably the issue I believe in the most. I also really believe in like the prevention of substance abuse and chemical dependency, and, you know, educating people about the dangers of opioids and things like that. So, but anyway, I can remember when she called me. Actually, I don't know if she called. I feel like we were standing there talking and we were somewhere together. I saw her a couple of times at this bar in Indianapolis, the one that was actually the last bar that I went to the night that I got sober, which was the Vogue. It was like Boing. They have this like this gay night on Sunday nights. Maybe that's where I saw her. I don't know, but she was like, yeah, we're going to do this like protest rally or something, like you should come. And I was like, no. And she was like, no, like, we really believe in this and be really good. And I was like, no, that's not, I don't believe in that. I am not a believer in violence. And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I just don't believe in violence. I don't like violence. I don't believe in violence. You know, and she was like, but we have to make change in this world. And I said, I understand that this is what you have to do, but that's not for me. Like, I've never changed anybody's mind by throwing a brick through their window. Like, that's not how I've changed people's opinions about who I am as somebody that's gay. Like, them having gotten to know me and see that I'm like, and at that point, like, I didn't even have the experience that I have now, but speaking as a 48-year-old married gay man, the people that have come back to me and said, you changed my mind about how I look at the LGBTQIA plus community, is because I showed them that we are no different. Just from my own personal experience, I'm sure other people are doing it to other people as well. It's not like I'm making this movement, but that's what I believe, is that if I show somebody, look at, here's my life, My life is very normal, like yours. I have a husband and 2 dogs, and we're redoing our bedroom, and we go out to eat and go to the grocery store. My life is no different than yours, right? Then people, I think, see that it's no different, and then they're not afraid of that. But like, I'm not a believer that throwing a brick through a building window and I don't believe that's gonna, I feel like that's gonna incite rage and anger, or I don't feel like that's gonna make somebody go, okay, now I accept you, now I love you, you know? It's weird that I was thinking about that tonight. I don't know what made me think about that. I remember all my friends from high school who, like, instantly, as soon as they went to IU, became hippies, like, immediately. They all had real long hair, you know, and they were cool. It was fun. But I remember they would go to, like, all of these rainbow gatherings. They were called rainbow gatherings. Do they still have them? They probably do. Out in this field in Bloomington outside of IU, and they'd always invite me to come to them. And they were basically just like these happy festivals where everybody was just stoned off their ass. If you've noticed, the last couple nights in my vlog, I've said, you know, be careful how you, I don't know how I've said it, but I've basically said at the end, like, speak nicely to one another, you know? I think we can get our opinions across, and we can have our opinions. Like I've said this on my drama channel forever, we can have our opinions and stay classy. You know, we can have our opinions about things, and we can have our points of views, and that's one of the things that makes the world so interesting, is like, you know, when I was younger, I can remember sitting down and having, you know, smoking one cigarette after another, drinking coffee with my friends, and having these deep discussions about things. We don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to have discussions about opposing points of view, you know? We want to just argue and be right. And I think social media has really contributed to that. Because I can type out in a paragraph on Facebook, or, you know, in 144 characters on Twitter, and then it's like, well, this is the last word on something, you know? Instead of actually having a discussion with people. I don't know what's happened to, like, not being able to have discussions with people. I think that's why Tanya and I love driving around and having our fountain pops. And if you think that Tanya and I agree on things, my God, you're mistaken. That woman has been my friend for 24 years, my best friend for 24 years. We've maybe agreed on 30% of the things, but we listen to one another. And I listen to where she's coming from, and she listens to where I'm coming from. And if anybody has changed my opinion about anything in my life, it is probably Tanya. Because we're so willing to have that open discussion with one another, you know? And ask questions and say, well, explain to me why you feel this way. Or why is it, you know, that you feel so strongly about this, or vice versa. And we've had, on either side, you know, very deep conversations about belief systems, about things. This has gone back 20 years, you know? It's gone back 20 years. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of like maybe what was like one of the deepest conversations that we've had about issues. Well, one thing I love about Tanya is that I continue to learn things about her all the time, you know? We were having a conversation tonight about was it tonight or was it last night? I can't remember, about something. You guys, if you even knew the most random conversations that we have, but we were talking to something to do. I was like, I didn't know that. We like surprise each other all the time, you know, with stuff that we didn't know each other about each other. And, you know, like, I'm probably open with her, and she's probably open with me more than any other person in this world, you know, other than our husbands. And honestly, I can't say that there's anything that I've ever talked or told Alex that Tanya doesn't know, and, you know, vice versa probably with Eric, I would assume. I don't know what I did in this world to get so lucky as to have a friend like her. To just be in the presence of somebody that makes you feel like you're at home, you know? Talking about, did I see her last night? This must have been last night. I think it was last night. Yeah, I saw her last night, didn't I? We were talking about the Real Housewives of Orange County, and we were talking about Bronwyn being sober on the show. And Tanya said, she was like, this is where we should do a podcast. And I said, girl, I've been asking you to do a podcast forever. She won't do it. She's like, no, I don't want to watch what I have to say, and then people will pick it apart. And she's like, I'm not doing that. She's like, I don't want to watch she's like, with you in a car driving around, I don't have to watch what I say. She was like, but you know what? She was like, I just don't, you know, I'm not doing that. But we were talking, and we have like a lot of the same opinions about the whole thing, and we were both like, you see a lot of people in the public eye get sober in the public eye, and we were talking about that. We were talking about, can you even imagine, like, 30 days sober, being on a reality show at, I guess it was a liquor tasting. I didn't know that. Tanya said it was. And I just can't even, like, with YouTubers and stuff, like, I think it's great to share that with your audience. I could not have been on YouTube at 30 days sober. I couldn't have been on YouTube probably at a year sober. I think it's great when people share their stories. And I think that their, you know, subscribers and fans give them encouragement and all that kind of stuff. But I would think that there would be, like, maybe this surmountable, not even the word I'm looking for, accountability that I don't even know that I would want. You know, that, like, you know, when I got sober, I wasn't sure I was sticking around. Like, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I was staying sober because I wanted people off my ass. I wanted my dad off my ass. My mom, she was doing her thing. She didn't even know what was going on. But, like, my stepmom, I wanted my stepmom off my ass. I wanted everybody off my ass, right? That's why I was doing it. I wasn't doing it because I was like, oh, I'm here, and, you know, like, welcome to the world of sobriety. Like, that was not why I was doing it. And like, I didn't really have a real moment. Like, I mean, I did a lot of things in my early, like, 6 months of sobriety that were real. Like, I really felt like if you had asked me, like, are you serious about this? I'd say 3 months in, 2 to 3 months in, I was like, yeah, I'm really doing this. But I was scared at that point, you know? I can remember being in school and going to my dad, like, and this was not bullshit. Like, this was sincere. Like, and I went to my dad. Well, if you read the Celestine Prophecy when we did it for the Peterisms channel, like I talked about it then, but like I read that, I don't even know, like in retrospect, having read that book, why that book changed me the way that it did, but it did. I don't know. It came into my life at a right time and reason, but I read that book on like day 3 or 4 of being sober or being out of treatment, and I was like, I can't be in school right now. Like, I can't be in school. I can't work. I need to focus on my sobriety. Like, I knew, like, I was, to be honest, I was really scared because they had wanted me to go into a halfway house, which then that would have all been a moot point anyway, because I would have just been going to meetings and stuff, but I was so resistant to go to a halfway house. And then there I was in my apartment, and I was like, kind of like really scared. I was really, I don't really talk that much about that on here, but I was really scared when I got out of treatment that I was going to use. Like, I remember talking to my counselor before I got out, like that week before, and she said, how do you feel about getting out? And I said, she's like, do you feel prepared? And I said, yeah. And she was like asking me about like my sponsor and all this kind of meetings I was going to go to, and I had all that lined up. And then she was like, how do you feel? And I said, I'm scared. And she said, sitting between a fine line of being prepared and being scared is exactly where you should be. You need to have a healthy form, a healthy amount of fear to go do this. And I was scared, because I knew there was a part of me that just didn't care, that didn't really care if I was sober or not. So when I read that book, that may have been 2 days in. I don't know. I read that book right away. I don't even know who gave that book to me then. I thought maybe my mom did, but I don't know. Maybe I bought it. I don't remember, but anyway. And I woke up that next day, and I remember I called my friend, the one that got sober on the 1st, because she called me drunk in treatment. And I said, I stayed up all night long and I read this book. She was like, what are you talking about? And I was telling her about it. And I said, I just feel like changed inside. Like, I can't, like, be in school right now. Like, I didn't care. Like, that was it, But I had made this deal with my dad that I would either be in school full-time or I would be working full-time. Why is this car just stopped on the side of the road? And I was so nervous to talk to him. So I called him, and he was like, come to my office. This is why I thank my father every year for my sobriety. When I have on my sobriety birthday, I called my dad and I said, can I come in and meet with you? And he was so angry with me at that point, with everything I put him through, we were talking, but not really. And he was so scared for me too, And so I went into his office. I don't know who took me there, but I remember I went into his office because I wasn't driving. And I remember I could see myself sitting there, and I was so nervous to have that conversation with him. And he kind of like sat back in his chair, and laced his fingers. And he's like, so what do you want to talk to me about? And I was like, I can't go to school right now. And I remember he said something that was kind of like dad smartassy. He's like, oh, you can't, can you? Or something like that. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, I need to focus on my sobriety. Like, I need to be going to like several meetings a day, and this is what I need to be doing, or I don't think that I can stay sober. And I remember he looked at me and he was like, all right. He was like, I'll make you a deal then. Something like that. I don't know how he said it, but he was like, you go to these meetings, you do all this kind of stuff, blah, 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 whatever, but by the fall, you're either in school full-time or you're working 40 hours a week. I don't care which, but one or the other. And I was like, okay. And that was in January. And by the end of April, I was in school full-time. In May, I started working my job that I had already started volunteering at, which is the treatment program that I had gone to, which I didn't expect. So I don't know that I could have, okay, so 2 to 3 months in, I'm like, really, I feel like I'm doing it, but like in my head is the doubt, right? Like I'm doubting myself all the time. Like, am I really that serious about it? Do I really want to stay sober? Maybe for a little while. And then when I'll never forget, I was just talking about this at a meeting. The last meeting I went to, I was talking about this, I think, maybe the meeting before, I don't know. That I can remember walking out of that, or maybe it was in my literature meeting, I don't know. I can remember walking out of that meeting into the parking lot, because I used to go to a lot of meetings of the treatment program that I went to treatment at. And I walked out of treatment, or I walked out of the meeting with that 6-month coin in my hand. I said the person's name who I was going to meetings with all the time. In the midst of me getting emotional. But I can remember walking out of that meeting and thinking to myself, I can just see myself standing there in the parking lot, like holding that coin and thinking to myself, I haven't done anything consistently for 6 months probably in my life, let alone stay sober since I was 12 years old. There's a lot of power in putting one foot in front of the other and just trusting the process and trusting the journey, There's just a lot of power in that. It was like I was walking somewhere in my life and I didn't know where I was going, but like I believed that eventually things were going to get better, like they had to, I think like, okay, so obviously that would have been really impossible, not impossible, but I mean, it would have been really hard to have like cameras on me all the time, in a reality show. But I think that's why, like I've had a lot of friends of mine that get sober and they work really, really hard on their first year sober. And then around 14 months, they go back out. Or, 12 months, they go back out. Like right after they get a year, they go back out. And I think part of it is, like as addicts and alcoholics, we're so addicted really to the feeling and the emotional change that drugs and substances and alcohol give us, right? Well, that happens in getting sober too. Like that happens in a 12-step program. That happens in leaving meetings. Like I can remember leaving meetings and literally feeling what people must feel like when they leave church, like, and being baptized and things. I can remember leaving meetings and literally feeling like the sunlight of the Spirit was all over me. I can remember standing outside parking lots in the middle of winter, smoking cigarettes with complete strangers, drinking cups of coffee in little styrofoam cups, and never having ever felt more blissful in my entire life, even more so than having been on a drug. I just had never felt that way before, There was something about it. And that's why I talk about the cup of coffee today still means so much to me, There's a purity about that I still see glimpses of that. But I think having been sober for a while, okay, when I feel glimpses of that is when I go to new meetings, when I meet new people in sobriety, because like that's super powerful, right? Because what you realize is like it's everywhere and whatever, But right now, there's not a lot of like meetings that are active, There are so many meetings that are Zoom still, and But I look forward to going to, like, my sponsor is somebody that, like, she goes to new meetings all the time. I have, like, my social anxiety really stands in the way of that. Like, I really struggle. I know you would be like, Peter, seriously? But, like, at 25, 25 years and 10 months sober, like, I still really struggle going into a meeting that I've never gone before where I don't know people. Like, I know you would think, like, I would not have that problem at all, right? But, like, I struggle with that. And, when I was more involved, like, I'm pretty involved now, but, like, on one side of town, like, when I was going to, like, I was going to 6 meetings a week. This was just a couple years ago. It was my first year on YouTube. When I was going to, like, 6 meetings a week, and they were all candlelight meetings and all that kind of stuff, like, I was meeting so many new people because I was going to meetings all over that I, like, not all over, but it was a different part of town. And then I was still going to my meeting on the north side, my home group meeting. So it was like, I was meeting a lot of people. So I would see people, I'd be like, oh, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? But, like, that's still, like, hard for me. Like, I have a friend of mine, I think there's something like 400 meetings in Indianapolis in a week. It's not crazy. Is it not totally crazy? That's just in one program. And she was like, she had made it her goal in 1 year that she was gonna, like, go to all the meetings. And I think she did. Like, try every meeting out, like, at least once. Or maybe over 2 years or something like that. I don't know how she did it, but... I love being sober. I love it with all my heart. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I can't even explain the feeling of what it's like to be sober. And it's so not about the substance to me. It has so very little to do with that today. I mean, it is about that at its core. I'm literally just a drink away from using on any day, just like anybody else, or any drug away from using. But it's just everything about it. It's the people that I've met, the fellowship, just all of it, the people that I've met through sobriety. Like, my world would not look the way that my world looks like today. I have met some of the most amazing, interesting people in the entire world, And our lives all completely look different, all of them, right? But the common denominator is that we're sober. Like, that's kind of cool, I know some people see it as a weakness, but I don't. I see it as a strength. I see sobriety as a strength. The weakness was me staying in my active addiction and not working towards my recovery. But man, I struggled. That's why I still every day pray for the still suffering alcoholic and addict. I struggled. It was hard. Before I got sober, it was not my first attempt. It was 5 treatments, many attempts at trying to stay sober myself. It was hard, you guys. It was not easy work. And I'll never shame anybody for trying and going back out. I have friends of mine that stuck took 20 and 30, you know, start over tokens and tags and things because they just couldn't get it, you know, and now they hold 20 plus years sobriety, you know, 5 years sobriety, 10 years sobriety. So, well, all right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here now, and I'm going to listen to my audiobook, Gatorbait by Jana DeLeon. I think is her name. I don't know. DeLeon. I like De Leon better because it sounds very like Louisiana Cajun. But anyway, because it takes place in Louisiana. Sinful Louisiana. And tomorrow we're going to brunch, and then I have my live stream at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are discussing the Sal Polisi book, The Sinatra Club. If you'd like to join our book club for November, we are reading the J.C. Duggard books, A Stolen Life, which is about her being kidnapped. I think she was kidnapped and held for 17 years. So, I was going to say hostage, but that's not what you call somebody that's kidnapped, right? I don't know what you called it, but is it you held them hostage? I don't know. But anyway, for 17 years. How they find her is crazy, too. I don't want to ruin it for anybody that's not read it, but it's crazy. I think it's on the back of the book, actually. I think I read it in the description. So I'm going to get off here now. I'm just going to say a really quick outro. I love you guys so much. Let's practice peace to one another and be kind to one another. Let's say nice things to one another. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Let somebody, most importantly, make sure that you let somebody in your life know how much they mean to you. Like I also always say, practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. You can start your day over whenever you want. And Sunday is my favorite day of the week. So I'm going to be getting an egg salad sandwich with chips to take home. Egg salad sandwich on whole wheat with avocado. Whole wheat. Egg salad sandwich with avocado on whole wheat, toasted, and chips. Anyway, I love you guys so much. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Come join us in the book club. Love ya. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love ya.